This is the second video in like a little two-part series from Magic Circle, the previous one. If you want to go and watch that before you watch this one to kind of get a feel for what I'm talking about in this one, hit the card. Hello and welcome to the best YouTube channel in the universe, Magical Tea Party. We're doing Spell Spotlight today. Oh! This is a spell that probably most people don't read up on, but it is super cool if you pull all the necessary steps to getting something this amazing to work. This is the main component and the reason, or one of the main reasons you'd use Magic Circle, and a bunch of the spells I'm going to mention in this video. I also talk about banishment in this video, so since this is a pretty complicated spell, first off I'm going to simplify it right now by telling you generally what you do. You spend an hour casting on literally any celestial, elemental, fey or fiend, and if they fail a charisma saving throw, they are your bitch for a day. And it's not like a charm condition, they do whatever the heck you tell them to. Jump off a cliff, sure! And it can go up to a whole ass year depending on what spell level you do it at, not concentration. Like, my god. And here's the boring rest of the description. To start off with, it's a 5th level abjuration spell that, like I mentioned earlier, takes a whole hour to cast, so definitely not doing this in the middle of combat. The creature needs to be there and present for the entirety of the casting, which is within 10 feet of you, which is dangerous. And you probably won't even be able to cast this during like a dungeon delve. Now, the duration of the spell is the main reason we use Magic Circle. Again, go and watch that if you don't know what the heck it is. The creature, like I said, needs to be present there for an hour. And you do that by trapping them inside a Magic Circle. You can teleport them in there from a multitude of ways, which I'll tell you about soon. Now, of course, this spell needs verbal and somatic components. It takes an hour. You need all the components, and the material components are hefty. This is a pretty big cleric spell as well as a wizard one, and you know the thing with clerics. They like to spend money to cast their spells. To even cast this spell, you need to have a jewel worth at least 1,000 gold, which the spell will consume on a failure or success. That's a heavy investment, but it's worth it. So after you do the whole boring hour of incantations and shiz, you force the target to make a charisma saving throw. Now, to help this spell ease in quicker, go down the throat better, I'd recommend perhaps having your allies beforehand be kitted out with spells to assist, making the saving throw harder for the creature to succeed on. If you're doing this on a much larger creature, then they might have magic resistance, which is going to bum you up the arsehole because then they have advantage on the save. So, I'd recommend having a few people or allies on hand to give a few negative effects. A bestow curse on a success could give them disadvantage on a saving throw of your choice. You could cast that yourself with a 5th level spell slot so that it's not concentration, so that you can start getting to work on Planar Binding. A decent example of a simpler one is if you have a cleric on hand, let's say, and they have the spell Bane, get them to cast that just as the spell's finished. If the creature fails the save, then they're going to have a minus D4 to the save, advantage, disadvantage, whatever. And if Bane fails, you're casting a 5th level spell. Your allies are also going to have access to more than 1 or 2 1st level spell slots. Get them to freaking spam it. This is a spell you need to work. So this is a spell for quite a few classes: Bard, Druid, Cleric, or Wizard. You could get a different person to help with Magic Circle. You could get your Warlock buddy in there to go and make one, and stuff like that. This is a spell that needs coordination, but once it works, it's great. A neat little addition is that if you've teleported like a creature into the Magic Circle, Planar Binding specifically says that, let's say the teleportation only lasts for a minute, while you're casting Planar Binding on them, that extends up until the end of the duration of the spell. Not just the casting, the spell. Which means that once you cast this, and you've teleported them in for a minute, they're now there for a day, under your control. This is cool because once their service is done, they just instantly get teleported away. So that they'll suddenly look at you and go, oh wait, I've been doing your bidding this entire time. Let's start smacking you up. So they just disappear. So let's talk about the main effect of the spell in a little more detail. Basically, they become your friend and will follow your every command. They can come on a lovely mission with you, they can guard something, they can find something for you, they can scout ahead. Basically, they're your bitch. This literally means you can make Demogorgon your bitch for a day. It's amazing. Now, something important to note is that this is not a charm condition. So, not only will creatures maybe not have advantage on the save if they would if it was a charm, which is kind of nice, or they might be immune to them. The creature, despite following your commands, can twist your words. They still have their own motives and goals, and they aren't clouded by your divine judgment. They retain their own personality as well, so it doesn't specify what attitude they have towards it, but if I were to play this, generally the creature, if unwillingly controlled, would probably be spiteful to them the entire time and express that they probably want to kill them once this spell is over. But they can't stop it. And even if they had the resources to just stop the spell on themselves, they wouldn't do so because they haven't been told to. So when you're doing this and giving commands, make sure that you know what you're saying. Perhaps even write something down in preparation, because you never freaking know. Otherwise, Mr. Solar might start killing all the bad guys in the place when you wanted them to kill the good guys, because you just said, go and kill everyone in that room. And they were like, okay. And they killed everyone in the room. Now, if the creature is successful on their epic quest, they will make it their next quest to come and find you and tell you that they've done it, if you're on the same plane. If you are not on the same plane with them, they're like, oh, okay. And they just sit there. Or they go to where you'd initially summoned them and when the spell took effect, and they just sit there and just wait. Now, here's the biggest kicker. You can upcast the spell, and it's one of the best upcasts ever. If you cast this with higher level spell slots, you can make the duration much, much longer. So you know how it lasts a day? If you cast this at 6th level, it goes up to 10 days. That's not even the bullshit that comes later on. 7th level spell makes it a month. 8th level spell makes it 180 days, and a 9th level bumps it up to a year. You can have someone in your service for a year, unwillingly. Literally any creature that fails the save. My god! It's fucking cool. So, here's how you do this. First of all, I recommend using, if you're in the middle of a combat with a creature, Banishment. To give yourself 1 minute, which is important. Go watch the Banishment video. I'd recommend getting a friend in there with some spells like Bestow, Curse, and Bane that I mentioned, or something that can debuff a saving throw to help ease the process. So with the creature banished, it's time to get to work making the magic circle, which you could do instantly. Takes a minute to cast. The creature is banished for a minute, and you can call them back just early, and they've... However, the way that it's worded, your DM might be a dick and make it a 6-second gap where they appear and it's a turn and they just leave. And it's like, oh, okay, well that was fucking pointless. So, I might recommend doing Banishment after someone else has started casting Magic Circle around the creature that's already on your team. This is somewhat hard to set up, but if you can do it, it's great. Planar Binding can be used on lots of different classes, and so can Magic Circle. Wizards, Warlocks, Clerics, and I believe 1 or 2 other classes have access to Magic Circle, so just maybe ask them later down the line that if you want to pull off a move as crazy as this, maybe ask them next level to take a spell like this. Just in case your DM ain't chill with you doing this cool shit, because some DMs I've known are like, nope, you're ruining my plans, I'm gonna go against that and be finicky with the rules, because screw you. And if you do that beforehand, the banished creature will appear just as they finish the magic circle, so that your DM can't weasel their way out of it. And if they try to, then complain, because Planar Binding is cool and you want it to work. Don't let them fudge rolls as well. When you're doing this, don't let them succeed. This is why I'm asking you to do Bestow Curse and Bane and whatever. So when they return, and they're in the magic circle and they're enclosed, you target their creature type and they can't leave. They're pretty useless at this point. They can still target people from outside of it, and if your DM just keeps them hitting things, just hit them until they're low health or look like low health, and then leave it, because they're in there for a while. Maybe I'd recommend upcasting Magic Circle to 4th level just to compensate for anything else you might have to do for the whole hour casting. And if all of that works, and you do Planar Binding and the creature fails their save, they are your bitch. Congratulations. You have now made Zoggertmore your friend. And also congratulations, you sat through this colossal frickin' spell spotlight video that is going to be way longer than all the other ones, because Planar Binding works with like 4 or 5 other spells. Jesus. I'll probably talk about some others in another video, describing Bane a bit more to you guys, so keep a lookout for that. I'm probably going to also talk about Bless in the same one because they're basically the same spells except debuff and buff. I'm currently playing in Out of the Abyss. Not only am I running it, which you can go ahead and watch, another iCard there, sure, latest episode. I play an Arcana Domain Cleric who gets Magic Circle and Planar Binding innately always, and it's just there. I'm going to win the game, man. Thank you for watching Magical Tea Party. I'm Jake, you should know this by now, and I don't need to remind you. Hit like and stuff or I'll planar bind you and make you do my dishes. That way, that way, that way. They call me the professional. Wind go.